fixed address has been charged with aggravated taking of a vehicle without consent, dangerous driving and assault. Now, it's been popular with shoppers in Manchester for generations. Kendall's is thought to be the oldest department store in the world. Today, it's celebrating its 175th birthday. The shop is hosting special events, including an exhibition of store memorabilia. Mel Barham has the details.
Well, Kendall's has long been an institution here in Manchester, but unbelievably today they are celebrating their 175th birthday, making it the world's oldest department store. It opened back in 1835. By the close of the century, they'd expanded from drapery and fashions to include cabinet making and even funeral undertaking. And today it is one of Manchester's major stores still. Well, Gary Slattery is the general manager here. Gary, it's a big day for you today, isn't it?
A huge day, and we're hugely excited. Ever since we established that House of Fraser Kendall's could lay claim to being the oldest department store in the world, we've been working furiously with our teams to deliver what we see today.
Brilliant, and it's changed quite a lot, hasn't it?
It's changed hugely from when we used to trade on the opposite side of the street to where we trade now. Even today, we're opening up a new restaurant and a new hair salon in the store. Change is very much part of what Kendall's is about.
Wonderful. Well, there is a big party planned here tonight. They're putting on the store's lights.
Thank you. Must be all that fresh fish.
They are so cute. Well, next, for generations, it's been a favourite with shoppers from Manchester and right across the northwest. In fact, Kendall's is thought to be the oldest department store anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and today the store, which is now, of course, officially known as House of Fraser, is celebrating its 175th anniversary. Now, the shop is hosting special events, including an exhibition of store memorabilia. Mel Barham, who loves a bit of retail therapy, has the details.
When it opened in 1835, no one could have predicted that Kendall, Milne and Faulkner would go on to become the oldest department store in the world. But 175 years on, it sealed its place in history.
If you talk about retail in Manchester, then you have to talk about Kendall's. It became the brand name retailer of Manchester and was for well over 100 years. It was the place to go. It was a place where you dressed up to go out to. It was like almost going out for a club night in a way.
When it first opened, it actually traded on the other side of the road, but soon expanded, taking up both sides of Deansgate. Connecting both buildings was an underground tunnel, which still exists.
This is the tunnel that goes under Deansgate that many of your viewers will be familiar with. Obviously now it's a stockroom, but back in the day in the early 80s, this had shops either side of the tunnel that enabled you to get access to the other building.
The current store was built in 1939. Through the years, they've sold everything from fashion and drapery to cabinets and even funeral undertaking.
For generations, this store has remained a focal point here in Manchester, not just for its customers, but for the thousands of people who came to work here through the years.
One of those was Gladys Melling-Sprout, who worked at Kendall's 50 years ago as a beauty consultant.
Dusty Springfield came to me one day and she'd no makeup on and and her hair was all over. I don't know what had happened to her, whether she'd got up late or much late, I don't know. But she dashed through, she got some makeup and then she dashed through to hairdressing. And when she came down, she looked gorgeous.
Someone else who fondly remembers his time at Kendall's is Gordon Sharples, who worked as Santa Claus 20 years ago.
Kendall Milne was considered the best Santa Claus in the city, and I got the job. It was the place to work, Kendall Milne. There was no two days about it. It was the store in the city. And when I told people you were working for Kendall, they said, "Oh, Kendall Milne, that can't be bad, can it?"
Today, Kendall's is still one of Manchester's major stores, an institution that's planning on staying put for a long time to come. Mel Barham, Granada Reports, Manchester.
Yeah, we'd never have guessed that Gordon was Father Christmas.
He looked well like Santa, didn't he? Yeah. Obviously, he's not Santa, but he looked like him. Yeah. That's inspired our talking point tonight. How much has shopping changed over the years? Do you have a favourite department store? and why?
Yeah, any memories of those great names like George Henry Lee in Liverpool, Lewis's in Blackpool, Pendlebury's in Wigan, Brown's of Chester, and do department stores still have a place on the high street? We'd love to hear your memories and your views on this one tonight. You can email or text us right now, please.
Yeah, or you can contact us via Facebook on facebook.com/Granada.
And still to come.
The four friends who want us to think before dumping.
Tonight, Northwich.
Next tonight, it's thought to be the oldest department store in the world, still trading after 175 years. Kendall's in Manchester is preparing to have a very big birthday party.
Yes, the shop is opening a special heritage room tonight with an exhibition of its history. And it's been looking for former staff to join a huge reunion. We sent our own shopaholic, Eno, to have a browse.
It's one of the region's most iconic buildings, with over 1 million customers a year. Kendall's opened in 1835. It survived a fire, 2 world wars and several recessions. And at the time it opened, shoppers had never seen anything like it.
It was a bit posh. That's what was different about it. Other stores, such as the famous Lewis's store, went more for pile them high and sell them cheap. And this was absolutely the opposite that. It was bespoke service, bespoke suits, dressmaking, fittings. It was the bee's knees.
With their own decorative fronts added to the brilliance and colour of the streets.
This is Kendall's, decked out for the coronation. In its heyday, there were 3,000 staff and they even had their own ballroom and a few shop floor romances. Martha Hayes, now 96, met her husband there in the 1930s. He also worked in the store.
We met on what was called the back stairs, and we used to go out.
This businessman came in, wanted fragrance for his wife, and could you wrap that in the blue paper? And could I have the same again? Oh yes, would you like that in blue? No, I'd like that in pink paper. Oh right, because one was for the wife and one was for the mistress.
To come into Kendall's, you had to put your best camel coat on. To put your best camel coat on and came to Kendall's, and we always used to go to Kendall's for lunch, and that was a big special treat at this time of the year. And I remember I always wanted the noddy meringue.
Kendall's began in this building on this side of the road in the 1800s. It wasn't until much later on they expanded to that side of the road, and there was an underground passage linking both buildings. In the 20s, it was bought by Harrods and changed its name, but had to backtrack after locals protested.
One American visitor once walked in and said, "This is a class act."
And it's still going strong after 175 years, hoping to have a staff reunion this Christmas. Eno Erotor, BBC North West Tonight, Manchester.
I bet they have so many secrets in there, the people who work behind the cash desks
I'm sure they
there.
did. I'm sure
About the mistress.
I'm sure Eno loved every minute of doing that as well.
Yes.
Now, sport, and as you saw a few minutes ago, Liverpool's Europa League match against Napoli is making headlines away from the pitch, but on the field of play...